is saying about Israel and what so many on the right continue to hear. Now, I don't like Megyn Kelly, but the point she's making right here is correct.
This disingenuous argument, especially on the right or those in the, Israel-occupied center. Center left, AIPAC Democrats. Let's be real. They say, oh, so now all of a sudden you care about Israel. What's that about? I bet you're an anti-Semite. It's like, no. Israel has brought us into a war that is jacking up the cost of everything, killing Americans, and might cause a global recession or depression. And it was because of Israel. It was because of Netanyahu. That is why we got into this war in the first place. Officials from Oman came to the United States pleading with Donald Trump to take a deal with Iran. Purely diplomatic negotiations, no war. But Netanyahu convinced him and Hegseth otherwise. So I think maybe we should care about Israel and be upset with Israel, especially as we are in a moment right now as they're trying to blow up deals. They just did blow up a deal, as we'll get to in a second, and Donald Trump can't even make up his mind if he wants one. J.D. Vance said that right here before. Of course, we get to what Israel did.
I do think that we've made a lot of progress here. It's very clear that I think the Iranian deal hopefully will continue to make progress. The president will be in a position where he can endorse the agreement, but obviously that's still TBD.
So Donald Trump, on whether or not he's going to make a deal or accept a deal, we still don't really know the terms of a deal is kind of, I don't really know because he doesn't care. And because he's in service of whatever Netanyahu wants. And I can promise you that what Bibi Netanyahu wants is the continuation of this war. They've made it clear. They've made that very clear. And even if there is an agreement in place, they're gonna blow it up because they just blew up the last deal that Donald Trump allegedly made, and they're looking to do it again. I want to start with what they're trying to do in this war, and then, of course, the deal that they blew up. The Hormuz letter writes, Israeli officials are now privately urging the Trump administration to completely abandon Iran negotiations, assassinate Iran's lead negotiator, and immediately restart strikes targeting Iran's oil and energy infrastructure to trigger regime change in Tehran, while not caring about the massive impact of the expected Iranian retaliation on Gulf energy infrastructure per a classified U.S. intelligence assessment. Trump has already privately been backing away from the deal since Sunday under extreme internal pressure from Israel and its U.S. domestic allies. Think Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham here, urging him not to accept Iran's terms. Poor sources per sources close to his negotiation team. Based on this, an Iranian official is saying Iran has absolutely zero trust in the Trump administration, in the U.S. word, in any agreement, adding, it cannot regard Donald Trump's decision as definitely finalized until the financial markets close at the end of the week with a concern, I should say, that Trump will formally end the deal and restart strikes at the last moment. This also comes as Netanyahu orders Israeli army to seize 70% of Gaza Strip, violating ceasefire deal. Speaking in a West Bank settlement, an illegal West Bank settlement, I should say, the Israeli prime minister, who is fighting for political survival before elections, says we are squeezing Hamas. No, they're just continuing their genocide. Benjamin Netanyahu had said he has given orders to Israeli army to seize control of 70% of the Gaza Strip in a move that threatens to torpedo an already fragile ceasefire that Israel has already been violating and create catastrophic humanitarian conditions in the already devastated territory under the U.S. brokered ceasefire in October that Fox told me was the greatest thing in the world but has not actually been followed by the Israelis. The Israeli army withdrew to a demarcation line, which gave Israel direct control of 53% of the occupied territory. Since then, Israeli forces have steadily advanced their positions westward, or you could say further invaded into Gaza and declared an ever-expanded no man's land west of that, within which they claimed the right to decide who can enter and open fire on anyone perceived as a threat, or of course, young, women, children, men, all innocents. In recent days, Israel-backed armed militias have taken a leading role in emptying the territory along the ceasefire line, telling residents to vacate their homes or shelters. Throughout the 8 months of the ceasefire, Israeli forces have continued to open fire on Palestinians within range of the Yellow Line, splitting the strip and carrying out airstrikes deeper into western Gaza, killing more than 900 Palestinians since the truce began. So, it seems like we could probably just say that Israel isn't following the ceasefire. Do we remember back in October when this supposed deal, the greatest deal ever, was negotiated? And everyone on Fox said, "Oh my God, give him the Nobel Prize." Trump, what a wonderful man. He's so smart. And if you don't agree that this is the greatest deal in the history of deals, then you're a terrible person and you have Trump derangement syndrome. And I just called because Israel does not honor ceasefires and the media does not appropriately report when they do violate them. They say, there's an encroachment upon a line and there's some fire or some targets. They never just say what is true. That Israel is going to continue its illegal occupation of the West Bank, its expansion into Gaza, its expansion into Lebanon, stealing, violating international law, and its further occupation of territory, all throughout the Middle East that is not theirs, that is sovereign to the people who live there, to the states. Like, that is what is happening, and it should be talked about in those explicit and truthful terms. There's no beating around the bush of this. Like, let's just shoot straight here and shoot straight that Donald Trump once again is showing us an example of how his word means nothing. I want to talk about this because it is a reason that Iran is so skeptical of any deal. It is the reason why part of a ceasefire would be ending Israel's constant assault on southern Lebanon, because Iran knows that Israel just wants destabilization throughout the region to pursue the Greater Israel Project and illegal territorial expansion. So if you allow that to happen, there will be endless fighting, and eventually Israel will once again need to say that Iran is so close to developing a nuclear weapon and we need to go to war with them so they can distract the American media, the Western media, and then do whatever else that they want on our dime. And I think we should be tired of that, because it doesn't just cost us the billions of dollars that we send them. Not just the federal government, but state governments as well that buy Israeli bonds and send them lots of money, but it costs us money in the American lives that we lose. How much of our military equipment has been destroyed in a war on behalf of Israel? Why Donald Trump now wants a $1.5 trillion military budget? That is a big issue. And so to anyone saying, and again, you always hear this from the right, and of course, the AIPAC Democrats. Well, why do you all of a sudden care about Israel? You know nothing about Israel. And they'll try to say this to you. Maybe some of your more, mega or, people who are still little Israel brainwashed friends or family will say, "Oh, why are you all of a sudden talking about Israel? Oh, you're all of a sudden an expert on Israel. You don't need to be an expert, okay?" That is a trick that these people use to try to keep you from talking about what the Israeli government does, to claim that this is so complicated that it's nuanced. It's not. It's not very nuanced that everyone said we shouldn't go to war with Iran except for Netanyahu and the Israelis and their surrogates in the Congress, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, those people. And then what did we do? We went to war with Iran. That's not nuanced, right? That's pretty black and white. Israel wanted war. War would be bad. Didn't matter. We went to war. Okay, that's pretty easy to understand. There's a ceasefire. Israel violates it. I don't know. That seems pretty simple for me to grasp. But they're going to tell you that you shouldn't care. You don't need to care. That it's just a bunch of, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Don't pay attention. Doesn't matter. But it is the most important thing happening right now, because if our politicians are beholden to a foreign nation, imagine what they'll do for an American corporation, right? Imagine what they'll do for a giant healthcare corporation, a giant energy corporation. Imagine what they would do to throw workers under the bus. Probably wouldn't take that much. It probably wouldn't take that much for the AI industry to scare the out of an elected Democrat and get them to vote exactly how they wanted to. Because if a foreign nation can lobby them to do so, they will do whatever else anyone wants for the right price. That is why this is important. That is why it is so important. Also, it's getting Americans killed. I think like that's reason enough. Also, innocent people are being killed. There's a genocide happening. It's been happening for years now. This entire displacement of the Palestinian people has been happening for decades upon decades now. Like, that's why it matters. So do not let someone tell you that it's too complicated, that it's too nuanced, that you just don't get it. You get it. Americans are dying. Palestinians are dying. This is a genocidal ethno-state, period. Full stop. It doesn't take nuance. It's very simple, and we should speak about it on those terms. We are going to on this show, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.
Support of Israel seems to mean our guys are going to die. Like our men in uniform and women in uniform are going to have to die or risk death. And possibly even get drafted. Now I'm raising 3 children who are approaching draft age who could have to go fight a war for Israel. Hard no.
Right.
And so if Israel just kind of kept its house in order and kind of did its own thing, as its defenders will claim is its goal and its approach, it's not true. That would have been one thing. But they are 100% the reason that we bombed Iran in June and then we launched this war. Marco Rubio told the truth when he said it was because of Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu did make the case to Trump 7 times at the White House. He'd done it with every other president in modern history, all of whom saw through him. But not Trump. Trump fell for it. You're going to be a hero. Venezuela, look how well it went. You were universally praised. The June strike, you got in, you got out. Everyone's going to praise you as having taken out this terrible leader. The Ayatollah, he's above ground. We've got the information on this specific date. Meanwhile, Obama came and he was like, they told me that same stuff. But I knew quagmire awaits and didn't do it. And he's probably telling the truth because they say that they've done this with every president who's been there. So I just think that there's no denying that Miriam's donations and those of some very, very powerful billionaires who are Israel firsters, not to mention the push he got from people like Mark Levin, and not just Jewish Americans like Levin and Shapiro, but Christian Americans too, like my old pal General Jack Keane, my old pal Mark Thiessen, Lindsey Graham, there's Mike Lawler. Like, there's a lot of Christian Zionists who are extremely pro-Israel who helped push him into it. And he fell for it all, hook, line, and sinker.
People hate Israel, and rightfully so. Right now, broadly, the rightfully so. Broadly, and I hear a lot of people make this